Right, guys, so welcome to Sports Matters TV. I'm obviously in Cork. Wayne is out in Vegas. We're actually, I think it's 26 degrees in Cork at the moment, Wayne. You never believe it, like, which is good.
It's unbelievable. I'll take that any day because I think it here it's probably, it's 107 degrees here today, whatever that is in Celsius, whatever. So 107.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. But
30, but 40 something Celsius here, and it's only May.
madness. But how's things with you? You're keeping well?
Good. You know, when you talk, you're from Cork. I won my first national championship in Cork.
Oh, Paul Buttimer always tells me.
Butsy was the last guy to beat me over there. But when I won the juvenile championship over there when I think it was 1980, 85. I think it was a centennial year or something.
Yeah.
And that was my first I won a juvenile Irish championship.
Yeah,
and then because they have them in Dublin every year. So, but that year they had it in Cork.
Yeah,
it was the only year they had it in Cork.
I
had fun, great time.
Kieran Joyce always talks about you. Kieran, you know Kieran Joyce. He's obviously a great Cork amateur boxer, and Butsy loves
Joyce. Kieran Joyce is the man responsible that nicknamed me the Pocket Rocket. You know that?
Yeah. I knew that.
Even back in '88, I was 17 on the Olympic team. I was a young kid, and he took me under his wing and he said, "Oh, you're small. You fit in my pocket, and you throw punches like a rocket." So the Pocket Rocket was launched. That was over 30 years ago. So I actually changed my name back home to Wayne Pocket Rocket McCullough officially.
Yeah, I remember that. And no one else ever took that name.
No. I say Kieran's a great guy. Butsy's a great guy. Butsy, I remember Butsy in the Olympic team in '92. He was injured, and he was training in the warmer than this, trying to get the weight up, but he couldn't because he couldn't run or anything, and that's what beat him. He could have got a medal because he was injured and he couldn't move.
Madness. And like
he made no excuses.
Yeah. I trained. I done a bit of training with Paul. He's obviously a great guy. He always has a great story about you. Tell us about the amateur days, Wayne. Obviously, you know, yourself and the lads pretty much put Ireland on the map back in the amateur days. 1988, obviously, you know, you went to the Olympics. Obviously, '92 was the year you won silver. What was it like being an amateur in Ireland? Obviously, they were great times.
It was because '88. I won the juveniles when I was 14, and I won the youths back to back, and then that year I was 87, 88 year from 16 to I turned 17. I won the juvenile under 18 junior and senior Irish championships within that time, and then I became a senior. So I beat PJ O'Halloran twice. They put me in with them twice, but that year I was knocking everybody out. It was weird. I weighed 7.5 stone, light flyweight, and made it with no problems. And I was just a kid still, 17. And I won the under 18 youth, junior, and senior by knockout, every one of them. And then I fought internationals against a Cuban. I knocked him out, a Scottish guy. Then a Turaghetti, I stopped him. And they still weren't going to send me to the Olympics. I had 12 knockouts in a row, and they still weren't going to send me at senior level. And they weren't going to. I'm like, that's weird. They said you're too young, but then young people get experience.
Yeah.
And getting the experiences, you know, and you never know. You may get a medal too. But that year I didn't. But that year was my first time with the senior team, and I say everybody else was in their 20s and stuff. But they all took me under their wing. You know, Kieran Joyce was a great guy. You know, Kruth was a lightweight on the team. Joe Lawler, who I fought actually a few years later in the seniors.
Yeah.
And it was Paul Fitzgerald. Get all the names right here. I was the lightest light fly. Then Joe Lawler. Then John Lowy.
Yeah.
And Michael. And then Billy Walsh. Billy Walsh, of course, I talk to every week here, and he's over here now, and he's up in Colorado. So
yeah. We were gutted to lose him. Yeah. Because Billy obviously went to America, like.
Yeah, but Billy went to America not because he wanted to, because he was forced out more or less.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's the problem. You know, I've been back in 2001 before all this training they're getting. You know, the World Amateurs were in Belfast. I went over, did a few training clinics for free, and talked to the Ulster president, the Irish president of boxing, and they were all for me coming over and doing it. And then all of a sudden it goes quiet. I come back to Vegas, everything goes quiet,
Yeah.
Nothing happens. And a few years later, they have people doing training and doing this and doing that. I'm like, that's weird. I started all this and all of a sudden they push you away. And then they did the same with Nicholas. They pushed Nicholas away, Nicholas Cruz Hernandez.
Yeah,
It's just a lot of politics, a lot of people in a power trip. You know what I mean? It's like I don't understand. I've never understood amateur boxing without, because back in the day, we weren't treated that well. And today they seem that people, I don't know, not really around it much, but it seems like they're not treating the fighters well either.
No, they're not. They're not. You hear the stories. You always hear the stories, Wayne.
But the funny story is the people who are running now are people who are boxers.
Yeah, it's mad.
It's crazy.
But even with Billy Walsh, when like he openly expressed he didn't want to really go. Like obviously they made him a great offer in America to go out there, but he didn't want to go. Obviously he's happy now, but obviously he didn't want to go.
No, he didn't want to go. He was happy. It's like when I came here in '93 for my pro career. I didn't want to come to America.
Yeah.
I didn't want. I was a home bird. I wanted to stay home. But all of a sudden somebody says, "Oh, you're going to be with Eddie Futch." I'm like, okay. And that was the end of it. Somebody like Eddie Futch was going to take me on as my coach, and he trained legends like Joe Frazier and Ken Norton and stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
And at that time he was training Riddick Bowe, the heavyweight champ of the world. So how can I turn that down? And Mike McCallum was there in the training camp too. And he took me on at 82 years old. But then people think you're leaving, or you're just leaving behind. But you do the best thing for yourself, because
of course,
if Billy didn't have the offers back home to stay, why would he stay?
Definitely. Speaking of Eddie, obviously Eddie trained 4 of the 5 lads that beat Muhammad Ali. What was Eddie like? Obviously a legendary coach.
Well, Eddie's as a coach, he was words can't describe the stuff that he taught me, and the stories he told me, and as a person, as a human being, he was beautiful.
Yeah.
The guy was just so nice and didn't care about the money. All these guys today are worried about getting the money and doing this. Eddie walked away from Montel Griffin, who's my good friend, who beat Roy Jones. In the rematch, he walked away from that. He walked away from Riddick Bowe's rematch for Vandy Galata because he said, you don't need to take this fight. And he was right on both them fights. He walked away from a lot of money. And I was friends with Eddie till he was 90 years old, till he passed away. He loved seeing my daughter. I brought him down to her town to visit him. And I was close to him. I was really close when he retired. He was 87 or something when he retired. But he gave the game plan when I even fought Naseem Hamed. He wasn't in the corner, but he gave me the game plan. It was unbelievable. And but he's just hard. It's just the guy was just unbelievable. And I'm the only guy, the fighter he had out of 20 world champions, that he gave a letter to and signed by him to be a coach someday, like a diploma. And he gave me a 1938 Golden Gloves pin.
Oh my God!
So I'm like, wow, this guy. But we were close. We were close till the end.
Good. And you were his last world champion as well, I believe, weren't you?
Yeah, I was the smallest in the last. Most of his guys were heavyweights and stuff. Yeah. And like you had, let's say, Mike McCallum is a 3-time world champion. He was junior, middle, and light heavyweight. And Montel Griffin was light heavyweight. But most of them were heavyweights. Ken Norton, Leon Spinks, Joe Frazier, you know what I mean? So guys like that. When you mention names like that, it's like, wow, they took me on, I mean.
Surreal. And we have to speak of July 1995. Obviously you made him proud. Obviously becoming WBC, champ. That was obviously a big turning point in your career. All the hard work, all the amateur days, the 300 plus fights as an amateur. That obviously, it was all worthwhile, when you became world champion.
It was I dreamed of being a world champion, and I talked about it when I was about 15. Yeah. And I always trained hard. Everybody knows I always trained hard in the amateurs. Did the extra mile, did the extra workout. It was just me. I just always did that. And my dream was to be WBC world champion. And in 1995, I can't believe it's 25 years ago.
25.
Going to Japan was was impossible.
You want to do it?
No fighter. Yeah, no fighter from Britain or Ireland had ever did it. I didn't know at that point that nobody had ever did it before. Nobody told me. Yeah. And going over there, we're thinking, okay, we went over, we did training camp here, and then we went to Utah for a while. Then we went to Hawaii for a week, and then we went on to Japan. And they treated me really well. They were trying to mess with me, like kicking my door and stuff at night. It didn't bother me. But the people treated me really well. And I won the fight on a split decision, which was crazy because two American judges gave it to me like by like 9 rounds to 3 and 8 rounds to 4. Then the other judge gave it to him by 1 round or something. Like, but he was like Korean or something. But we expected that. But there's no way they could, they could have took it away from me.
Yeah.
And my hand was raised, and I did it. It was just a moment of your life that you've dreamed of that came true. You know what I mean? It was just I just turned 25. So it was. I'd only been a pro I was a pro 2 years, 5 months, and 7 days of my debut, and it was my 17th fight, because I stayed busy. I stayed busy the first year as a pro. I had in 11 months I had 11 fights.
Surreal. I always remember, you always look back at the archives, like of, you see the celebrations back in Belfast, back in Dublin, across Ireland. The first man to do it from Ireland, obviously, to go to Japan, and the first Irish WBC champion as well. I mean, it's definitely fair to say, you've had some of the greatest highlights as an Irish boxer. We can't forget winning that silver medal. Even though you lost, you lost to a great fighter, the guy that actually went on to win it and became world champion as well.
Yeah.
It's surreal. You know what I mean? It's surreal.
No, but I'm glad you said that, actually, although you lost, because when people talk to me, they say, "So you won a medal?" I said, "Well, I actually lost." When they're like, "But you understand, you win the medal for your country." But I always thought, I won a Commonwealth gold 1990, and I won a World Cup bronze for Ireland, the only World Cup medal Ireland's ever won.
Yeah.
And then I won the medal. I lost the medal, but I won. But that was my stepping stone to the pro ranks. Getting the medal for your country was a dream. I never thought about at the time being the first WBC champion or being the first person from Ireland or Britain. I didn't think about that. I wasn't even told it. Actually, I didn't even know. I didn't find out, actually. I never found out I was the first person from Ireland and Britain until Randall Munro fought over there about probably 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, I remember him.
So I didn't even know that. Yeah, nobody even told me. And I'm thinking, and then somebody said, "You're the only person from Ireland or Britain." I'm like, really? So to say when you say Ireland, we're a small nation, but then when you put England, Scotland, Wales into the equation, you're like, that's big.
Yeah.
But I never thought about it like that. I just think about things that I went for and achieved it.
And we speak of your, obviously as an amateur, you were on the mark straight away after 1992. The fight you had, Wayne, there was always a fight of the air contender. When you fight the likes of, Prince Naseem Hamed, Erik Morales, to this day Morales reckons, you're the toughest guy he ever fought. What was it like personally to fight these guys? Obviously you vacated the belt, you stepped up and weighed again. You had big goals. But what was it like to fight Naseem and obviously, Erik Morales, two great fighters? To this day, they say, you're the toughest guy they perhaps fought.
No, Naseem Hamed, actually, he fought my undercard in Dublin in 1993.
I remember
so
that.
He was on the undercard. So we go back, and in 1996, he fought Manuel Medina in Dublin. And he puts in the media something about, "I'm scared. My wife's scared of me fighting him." So I jumped on a flight and arrived at the Guinness factory and confronted him. And it wasn't a nice confrontation. Although we had about 30 people around him, and I had my good friend Mick Devine from Dublin. And people pulled me off. And next day, I go to the fight. I'm at the back of the arena. People noticed me. Then they brought me to the front, right behind his dad. And the crowd sang my name the way through the fight. He looked like crap that night, and Medina almost beat him. But Hamed was the type of guy I thought he was never going to fight me. Never going to fight me.
Yeah.
But the reason why he fought me, because back in 1998, I was out for like a year and a half. And I fought a guy called Juan Polo Perez. World champion. Yeah. I looked like crap again. I looked like garbage against him down in Corpus Christi, Texas. I won the fight, was going through the motion, promoter was screwing me over, and my opponent didn't turn up for the fight, so I didn't care. And then when Hamed had knocked this guy out in 2 rounds or something. So when I get back to Vegas, the call came through. My wife comes to I was in bed. She said, "Do you want the Hamed fight?" I said, "Yep." You know what, dude? Didn't even ask about the money.
Yeah. And
that's when the fight was done. And then all of a sudden, when I told Hamed face to face, I said, "When you hit me, you're going to run." And he was convinced he was going to knock me out. And the guy was signed by HBO. We fought on HBO. They signed fighters, which should be illegal. And the judges, the commentators are all in the pocket. The only person who was good that night was George Foreman. He was brilliant. George, he thought I won the fight. But the rest of them, Hamed runs. How can you run and win a fight? It's ridiculous. But say to get in the ring with him, he hit me with good shots. didn't even hurt me.
Yeah.
And then I say 1 year later, I'm stepping in the ring. Both, I say he was pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world. Then I fight Erik Morales a year later, exactly a year later. October 98, I fought him, October 99. And Morales was the type of guy that he could hit you hard. This guy could hit you hard with either hand. He's a tall guy, 122 pounds, 8 stone 10.
Yeah.
And when he hits you, when I fought Hamed, he knocked out 18 guys in a row before me. When I fought Morales, he knocked out 9 guys in a row at championship level. So the funny thing about we were at the hotel, and I walked over to him when he was checking in, and because his cut man's a guy called Miguel Diaz. He's my good friend.
Yeah.
And I walked over and shook his hand. And I looked at Morales and I shook his hand. He looked at me like, "This is not supposed to happen." And then at the press conference the next day, he said, "I'm going to do the McCullough that Hamed couldn't do, and knock him out." And I just went, and he said in broken English, "And you can laugh if you want to." And I'm like, "Okay." But we get into the ring and I say, first round comes out. I take the first round on all the cards. I took the first round away from him.
Yeah.
So I remember watching the fight afterwards, and his corner had said to him, "Don't go forward, back off, box, 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 box." They found out in the first round that I wasn't going anywhere, and they had to box me to win the fight. We stood toe to toe. You know, 9th round, he's ready to quit, and I wish he would have quit. He was lying on the stud, ready to quit, and I'm a young guy, but he kept going on. And 12 rounds, we stood toe to toe, and he won a close fight. He won a close fight. Yeah. We should have had a rematch. We never got a rematch.
But the tale is that he was going to quit, like on the stool. That's a tale.
He was going to quit.
Yeah.
9th round, he was going to quit. Miguel Diaz, the cut man, he was ready to go. He was just so burnt out. And I remember when the fight was over, Hamed was the main event that night against Cesar Soda.
Yeah.
And I walked into Morales' dressing room, and I'm just all chirpy. That's the way I fight. And I looked at him and I said, "Are you okay?" He was sitting in the corner on a massage table with his coach, wrapped in a big thick jacket, just sitting like this, holding his stomach like this. Because I hit him some good body shots, and he hit me some good body shots. But he stood up, took off his jacket, took off his tracksuit top, and gave it to me. And I give mine, of course, but I've never ever had that before in the pro ranks. So amateurs, we changed that, singlets and stuff. But that was a mark of respect, I thought, and I returned the favor. And from that day forward, every time I talk to him, actually, we WhatsApp each other here, and the guy's a legend, and you know, just to share the ring with him and to fight 12 rounds with him. I would love to have had the rematch, of course, but to fight 12 rounds with him, just classic. I mean, the classic fight. People still talk about it today.
I still watch it. I remember still watching it.
They watch it and think, "Holy crap! That was." And he was busted up. His eyes were all busted up and everything, and I was like, "Wow, it was awesome."
I remember.
He was a tall guy for 108 stone 10, 122. He was a tall guy.
He's definitely one of the
greats. That was his last fight at 122. He moved up and fought Barrera right after that.
Yeah. Is it fair to say, Wayne, you reckon he would have beat Naseem, obviously, if he fought Naseem?
Yeah, Naseem's the type of guy that he hit harder. People ask me that question over and over. Who hit the hardest? I say, Hamed was strong. But Morales had that Tommy Hearns one-punch knockout.
All you need.
And people have said to me, "No, you're wrong. Hamed hits harder." And I'm like, I was getting hit. I know the difference between who was hitting the hardest. And if Morales would have hit Hamed, caught him clean, but Hamed was so hard to hit clean. Yeah. And, you know, if you watch the fight with me, he said that he was going to knock me down in the 3rd round at 2 minutes, 32 seconds of the round. Didn't happen. But right on 2:32, I hit him a left hook to the back of the head, and his glove hit the canvas. It should be a knockdown. But they didn't call it. Joe Cortez never called it. I know Joe Cortez really well. He did my World Championship fight in Japan. But that night, he wasn't fair. I had whiplash on my neck because I could pull down so many times. Hamed pulled me to the canvas in the 2nd round and hit me. And I stood up, man, like this. The referee, what's going on? And just box. So, but I think Morales hits him. He knocks him out. But if he doesn't hit him clean, Hamed can steal it by moving around. Yeah. And he's just so quick. But it's hard to compare fighters from the past. And they were the same era. But if people talk about Muhammad Ali against Mike Tyson and stuff like that, it's hard to compare it. Different styles, different fights. But it would be an interesting fight. It would have been a fight that people probably would have wanted to see.
Definitely.
You know, because Morales beat Barrera beat Morales, and then Barrera beats Hamed.
Yeah.
You know, so different styles make different fights.
Definitely. No, Wayne, like I said, your career was always marvellous. Obviously, you fought some, more great fights after that. Scott Harrison, there were so many great fights. Obviously, there was a time when you were told to retire. There was a slight injury, and obviously, you kind of put you on the back track for a while. Do you think that kind of affected you in the long run? When the doctor said obviously you couldn't fight, and then they came back and said you could fight. Do you think that little break affected you, mentally?
Yeah, first, no doctor ever said I couldn't fight. That's the problem. I was told by the promoter of the card in Belfast in October 2000. 20th of October was the fight. Took the scan on the 14th. Trained 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. Got the word and gets called to the promoters, and the words he said, "Your career's over. One more punch to the head's going to kill you."
Yeah.
I'm sitting in the car with my wife. My daughter was like 3, and I'm like, "What?" I'd sparred and stuff, you know what I mean? I'd get hit at the head and was just tired. It was making weight, ready to go the next day.
Yeah.
And you believe this stuff, although you haven't seen anything. And then I was number 1 in the world. This fight was a warm-up for the championship again. Because I moved back I was still at super bantamweight.
Yeah.
And Morales had moved up and stuff. So my manager, my lawyer said, let's get a second opinion. So we go down to Dublin the next day on the 19th and went to see a neurosurgeon who looked at things and said, there's nothing wrong here. With 2 other doctors, neurosurgeon, no, you're clear. Brought them back to Belfast, and the doctor who was just a GP, put his hands up and I don't know these. He didn't even look at them. He was a British Board Zone doctor. Didn't even look at them. And the doctor who took the scan in Belfast, we went to see him. He was a radiologist. He wasn't even a neurosurgeon. The ones from Dublin were neurosurgeon. The radiologist guy said, I seen a little space thing, and I have to send on to the radiologist or the neurosurgeon in London, which is the British boxers, the British Board's own doctors. But for some reason, I never got the reports for like 13 months later. And I really, I still believed in my mind, I was cleared that I could die with a blow to head. And, I had to get help and stuff. But I kept training every day. I kept training twice a day, every day. And then when I finally had to force them, more or less, to get the results, Dr. Peter Richards, who's their own doctor, had looked at the scans on the 22nd or 23rd of October. The fight was on the 20th, so he wouldn't even looked at them before the fight.
Yeah.
Didn't even look at them. They weren't even going to try to do anything. And he looked at them and said, oh, yeah, there's nothing there. No problem with Wayne McCullough fighting. And I'm thinking, what? And if I wouldn't have pursued it, I'd have been sitting here today and my career would have been over after the Morales fight.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have fought again because they weren't going to. My lawyer and co-manager Stuart Campbell, he forced them to get the scans, or it was a lawsuit. And that was on a Friday, and on the Monday it was going to be a lawsuit. And then Monday morning I had my license back.
Madness.
But they wasted 27 months of my career for to this day. I still don't understand why.
Yeah, because I remember the headlines.
I
remember the headlines back in Ireland. Obviously, I was quite young, but I remember obviously you see it in the papers and stuff. And like to this day, when I look at it as an older man, I'd always say, like, if something like that happened to me, like mentally that would mess me up, because you're coming off a great fight against Erik Morales. You know what I mean? You're at the peak of your career, and then you have all that kind of stuff happen.
Yeah.
It's madness.
It is, and to this day, still, I just still can't understand it. I really don't. And I did get help. I say I'm off the rails a little bit, and but training twice a day kept me normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was still a bad time to go through them years. They didn't care about me.
Yeah.
And the guy who was Simon Block was the head of the British Board at that time, and he was, dear Lord. But the guy who took over from him was a great guy who actually got my license back for me. And, we forced the hand. The British Board of Control, I knew they were moving to Wales from London before they did it. And they were confused how I knew that, because I told them. And that's when we were going to force a lawsuit. But as I say, when he took over, I got my license back again, the other guy. But to this day, I'll never understand why they did it. Because I fought every time I fought the first year as a pro, I fought in Belfast. It's under our jurisdiction. Then I fought in Dublin a few months later. I always made sure. Then the next year I fought in London, and then I fought in Dublin again that year. And then the next year I defended my belt in Belfast. And then I say when I got my license back eventually, I fought in Scotland, England again, and Belfast. And my next fight was going to be in Dublin. But then I lost to Scott Harrison.
Yeah.
And then my contract with him. Yeah. So I still don't know. I can't get it through my head what happened then. But nobody, they didn't care. They didn't sit me down at the time it happened and say, here's the doctor's reports. There was no reports. There was no evidence to say Wayne McCullough should never step in the ring again. And when I came back here right after it, a few days later, I was still the Nevada State Athletic Commission, who I had good terms with. The first thing they said to me is, we're sending you to UCLA. When I was in Belfast, they called me up, Mark Ratner, who works for the UFC now. He called me up and says, first and foremost, are you okay? He didn't care about the fighter.
Yeah.
The British sport didn't care about me, and they kicked me to the side and hid everything. Where in Nevada, where I lived for that time, I was here 7 years at that point, they treated me like I was family. And they sent me to UCLA to see the top neurosurgeon, and he looked at me and he said, whoever told you you're going to die with a blow to the head, need their head looked at, because it's not going to happen. Looked at me, checked me out, got together with 3 doctors around the country, 4 of the best doctors in the world, and they all said the same thing. There's no further risk to boxing if you fight. So I still can't understand that. And I fought in Vegas that year and knocked the guy out in 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Then I finally got my license back in the summer of 2002. And I fought in London first, and then I fought in Belfast.
Yeah.
But to this day, I still can't figure it out. Because you think they'd apologize or something, you would do some apology.
Yeah.
But they never did. There's not one doctor, and the doctor who was in Belfast who wouldn't look at the scans, the GP, he quit. He quit because I got my license back and stuff like that. I don't have one doctor in the world says Wayne McCullough shouldn't have stepped in the ring. Do you think it would take that risk? I would never take that risk.
Yeah.
There was nothing there. It was just, and the scan they took in October 12th, 2000, and it was in the Royal Hospital in Belfast. And in 1983, when I turned pro, they took a scan there as well, the exact same scan. And the doctor in UCLA said, everything that's in that scan in 93 was in the scan in 2000. Nothing has changed at all. I'm thinking, wow, that's crazy.
No,
So
I always wanted to talk about that because I always remember the headlines when being back home. I was, heartbroken. Obviously, I'd always watch out for the Irish lads, and obviously you were the biggest. And I remember watching the headlines, seeing the headlines, and I'm like, you hear the stories later, and then you're like, you can't get your head around it. It's mad.
That's funny because I went to Dublin. Let's say on the day of the weigh-in, I went to Dublin, got cleared took the time to sit down, talk to me. 3 doctors cleared me. And say, when I went back to Belfast, I wouldn't look at the scans because there was only a GP. But they let me weigh in for the fight. They actually weighed in. I weighed in for that fight, and they called the British Border Control called out my weight and everything. So why did they even let me do that?
There's something fishy when it's something weird.
Oh, there's just the truth will come out someday. It might take it's been 20 years now, but sometimes the truth comes out in 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes 20, 30 years.
Yeah, we'll fight for the truth. And we have to say, Wendy, you're going to be celebrating your 50th birthday soon. This summer. Are you looking forward to that? Because you look fresh. You haven't aged a bit.
I still got my hair.
A bit. A bit of just for members.
Mine is it. My birthday's easy. 7/7/70. You know what I mean? So it's all the 7s. So I can't forget it. But now when I look around here, say I'm in a room here, I've got like pictures on the wall and stuff, and I see my daughter. She was like 1 year older, now she's 22. So it's like, the time flies, but you make history. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Where I'm sitting at, see all these like pictures and stuff on the wall. The Olympic picture up here and stuff.
Yeah.
It's all history.
Yeah.
It's all history, and on the wall over there, the thing that takes pride in place over there is my wife's grandfather's World War II medals. They take more pride in any of my stuff here. Yeah. So they're like, that's what you call a real hero. I'm just a person who entertains people.
But you set the mark, Wayne. As you said, for any young Irish fighter today, when they look up the history books, you're the guy that that left to go to Las Vegas. Pretty much never came back to Ireland. Obviously, you came to visit family and stuff. So we've lost you to America. Obviously, you're any plans of coming home? Do you reckon you'll ever come home?
No, I've got a home of my own over there. So I've got a part of Ireland. You know what I mean? So it's just when you get older, and when I first left, I was going back I was in the first year, '93. I was here for like 3 months. Then I was back in Ireland for a month, and back here for a month, and back in Ireland for a month. I spent more time back home, and then you're getting older, and then you start a family and stuff. So it's like your life changes a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Ireland's my home. It's always been my home. I was a home bird, as I say. But you never say never. If you had told me just over 27 years ago that I was going to come to America to live, I'd say never. I fought here as a 1990 and 91 as an amateur all around like New York, Albany, New York, Salt Lake City, Portland, Oregon. So I seen the West Coast and the East Coast, and I didn't like it. I just didn't like America. I wanted to be back home. My dream was to go back home, have my gym, have my home there with her, and just teach the kids over there. Yeah. But sometimes your life changes, you know what I mean? And the Americans have treated me. I've been here. I've lived here longer, of course, 27 years here now, and they treated me really well. I've got great friends here. I've had for 20 years. The boxing people in America respect me. Yeah. It's just back home, of course, everybody remembers you, but to come to another country and get that the recognition over here as well is just unbelievable.
It's rare. You deserve it.
The biggest import to America is Irish people. You know what I mean? So after Guinness.
And when we have to ask you, obviously there's a lot of Irish lads out there at the moment trying to follow in your footsteps. I know a lad from Cork, James Power. He turned pro. He's going to be fighting with Aaron McKenna and all the lads out there. Would you always try and keep an eye out for
That one's a long story. James Power's a long story. Believe me, I'm not going to talk about it now. He's something of he's a catch.
Yeah. But
I'm gonna be training Dennis Hogan. You know that?
Yeah. Good lad. Very unlucky his last two fights. Epic.
Yeah. He should have won a world championship against Mangaya. But he was just too small for the Charlo brother, normally. He was just too small. But he's going back to junior. He's going to go back to 154. And I've never met him. We've talked. He sent me videos yesterday. He's sparring in Australia, and he's going to come over here for like 6 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy because training Irish people is what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? For the years, and as I've trained, Jason Quigley trained with me a few days, but before he left, down in Santa Monica, but he was homesick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
And if you're homesick is part of being here. Yeah. I came here with my wife, who was 19, and we didn't know one person in the whole country. I went to the gym every day and trained every day, come back, and she'd be at home just like, she had no job around, she couldn't work. Yeah. And we didn't know anybody, but we made a life. And the homesickness takes a couple of years, but you get past it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I had somebody like Eddie Fudge with me, how could I say I'm going home?
No way.
You know what I mean? So, but I say I can teach people the way Eddie taught me to certain things. I'm not going to teach somebody how to fight like me unless they're similar. Everybody's different. I say when I came here, Riddick Bowe, Mike McCallum, Montel Griffin, and me all had 4 different styles, and he trained us all 4 different ways. And I can do that. People think Wayne McCullough, he's going to train you the way he fought. No, I'm not. I teach a lot of defense, which is unheard of from me. But I teach a lot of defense, moving around, good jabs, sitting down your punches, hitting harder. And with Dennis Hogan, I'm not going to change his style. I'm going to fix it and tidy it up and make him hit harder and get him using his jab more and getting his chin down. And who knows? Maybe he'll get that belt that he should have had against Mangaya wrapped around his waist.
I think he will.
So it's just, I really appreciate Dennis Hogan taking the chance on me, because I know I can help him and say I sort of give up on training people. I personal train people. I train celebrities. I train normal people. I train amateurs, and I trained a pro up until about 4 years ago. A guy called Julian Ramirez, who got raw blind.
Yeah.
He was 15-0 when he got raw blind and he hasn't fought since because he's mad about boxing's against him, which I understand. Yeah. When you get robbed like that, I understand 100%. But this kid has so much talent. He's like red-haired Mexican, like good-looking kid, like Canelo.
Yeah.
And he's still only 25 or 26, but he's got the whole world against him, so he hasn't fought again. And I've trained him, and he's brilliant. So if I get a bunch of Irish fighters over here, it'd be fantastic.
I'm going to send them all your way. Will you do me one favor, Wayne? If you I don't think you brought out a book. Will you try and bring out a book at some stage?
I wrote my own autobiography.
Is it out? Is it?
Yeah, 2005. It's on Kindle now.
I'll have to get that. I'll have to get that. You'll have to update that book.
It was called Don't Quit. It's called Don't Quit. We sold out of the books, and my publisher wasn't the greatest. But I said, do another print. Yeah. If they're sold out to another print, they wouldn't do another print. So I got the rights to it, and it's on Kindle. And but I wrote it all myself. I had a journalist who was supposed to do it.
Yeah.
And he followed me for years. And then all of a sudden, he didn't get it done. And he started the book the way I didn't want to start it. And I just said, forget about it. And then the publisher said, I've been doing a bit of writing for like Ring Magazine and Scott. What? And he said, well, the problem is when you have a 2-week deadline. And I'm like, I was right after my first fight or my second fight with Larry's. So my wife and me sat in the bedroom probably 20 hours a day. She typed everything on the computer and I just sat and talked. Yeah. Got videos, had to go through all the videos. Everything I told the guy who was going to write it, I had to go through the whole thing again. But I don't think anybody can go through their life like yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I can tell the way I lived and what I did. And I say it went to number 2 in the bestseller in Ireland, which was pretty good actually.
I'll have to make sure I plug that book again because I didn't even know it came out. I was there saying, well, I asked the question or not, but obviously the book came out.
Well, the movie. Well, I just want the movie's next. Hopefully, the movie.
Bring it on, bring it on. But Wayne, it's an absolute honour as always speaking to you. I'm going to make sure all the Irish lads know about you and they come out your direction for a bit of advice. You're a gent as always. You're a gent.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It means
thanks to all the fans.
I'll tell Butsy you're asking for him.
Tell Butsy. I'm always asking for Butsy and Kieran Joyce. Tell them. Love them guys. They're great guys. Love them.
Thanks a million, Wayne. We'll catch you soon, my man, and stay safe, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.